Обстоятельства требуют от нас решительных и незамедлительных действий.
Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors?
We've said very clearly that if Russia continues to escalate, so will we.
Vladimir Putin's goal is very simple. He wants Ukraine to be politically under his control, and he wants Ukraine not to be able to make its own independent foreign policy decisions. That means not being able to join alliances that he doesn't want it to, like NATO.
Шановні громадяни України, сьогодні вранці президент Путін оголосив проведення спеціальної військової операції на Донбасі. Росія здійснила удари по нашій військовій інфраструктурі та по нашим прикордонникам, прикордонним загонам. В багатьох містах України було чутно вибухи. Ми вводимо воєнний стан на всій території нашої держави. Хвилину тому я провів розмову з президентом Байденом. Сполучені Штати Америки вже почали гуртувати міжнародну підтримку.
Просто им не нужна такая большая самостоятельная страна, как Россия. Это и есть источник традиционной американской политики на российском направлении.
Since the Second World War, the United States believes that we have upheld an order in Europe where wars of conquest between states have not been undertaken. And if one is now about to be embarked on by Vladimir Putin in order to solve his geopolitical dreams, this is believed by the US government to be a very dangerous outcome and a very poor augur for the future. Vladimir Putin is obsessed with Ukraine and the idea that the country should be under some form or another of Russian domination or control. On one level, geopolitically, for men like Putin, it's very simple. Russia with Ukraine is an empire, potentially a superpower. Russia without Ukraine is just a big state. For the last few years, the Western allies have operated a fudge when it comes to Ukraine's potential membership of NATO. They've pushed it off far, far into the future, essentially making it a point of principle. But by keeping that point of principle open, they believe that they have kept the principle that Ukraine is a fully independent state with no Russian veto over its foreign policy alive. Unfortunately, Putin seems determined to force the issue now on the Western alliance at the point of war, meaning that Ukraine is placed in a very, very precarious and dangerous moment right now.
This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Under the Minsk agreement, which neither side fulfilled, the idea was that Russia would withdraw its forces from eastern Ukraine, and Ukraine would be allowed to re-enter these territories, but they would be given autonomy. What Putin has done is rip up this agreement that was never implemented by either side by recognizing these puppet republics as independent states. That means that there's no possibility now of that agreement becoming a peaceful settlement to the conflict. But more worryingly, Putin, in a series of extremely intense, aggressive, and indeed snarling speeches, has made it clear that he's setting up the case for military action across the whole of Ukraine. How far Putin will go, we don't really know, but there could be many millions of people moving towards the European Union in the next few weeks or months if he goes ahead. The second major shock that will hit the world if this terrible invasion does go ahead with its full force is a global inflationary shock. President Biden has made it very clear that because Ukraine is not a member of the NATO defense alliance, he will not be intervening in Ukraine to stop Vladimir Putin, even if he invades and topples government in Kiev. However, the West might, after an invasion and occupation, continue to supply the Ukrainians with an escalating amount of weaponry. This could take the form, for example, of backing a long-term insurgency in Ukraine against a Russian occupation. This has been discussed and planned in Washington and in London. And that could eventually cost the Russian army a large amount of troops.
Ну ладно, не хотите видеть в нашем лице друга и союзника, но зачем же делать из нас врага?